got to be very careful.
Whittaker nearly out on his feet. Adesanya trying to close it out. Israel Adesanya is the undisputed king of the middleweights.
I lost the world title in front of my family, my friends, 60,000 people in Melbourne. And if I didn't have a good grip on who I was and didn't understand what it was that I was fighting for, I would have fallen.
UFC Middleweight Champion Robert Whittaker.
It's a tough industry to have a day off. Like, everyone has bad days, but my bad days look a little worse. More than anybody else. I'm not a championship fighter. I'm a warrior. And this is what I do to provide for my family. And that's the identity that I have. This is one thing that I think the fans don't see. If you take me away from my family, I've lost half the edge. As someone who's fighting at the pinnacle of the game, you're always looking for edges. What could I be doing to make me better?
Rob Whittaker, welcome to Straight Talk, mate.
Thanks for having me.
Been a long time trying to get you here.
No, sorry, mate. Sorry.
That's all good, all good. No, we're just talking like it's funny. You got 3 boys,
yep,
and 1 daughter, and 1 on the way.
Yep.
When's the one on the way due?
January.
And do you know what it is? A boy or a girl yet?
Girl.
Another girl.
Yes.
That's perfect.
3 boys and 2 girls.
What's the balance like in your family? Like, I mean, I've only ever had 4 boys, and I've got 3. I'll have 3 grandsons within a week. What's that like?
Honestly, I'm happy for another girl because my daughter's been asking for a little sister since day dot, right? But seeing the 3 boys interact with each other, boys and girls, they just act differently. Like the girls eating a breakfast, nice and neat, like trying to be respectful, and the boys are chasing each other with sticks and swords. Like, even the youngest, he's only about turning 3 next year, and he's starting to like just pick up, the kids just pick up things. They're picking up off their older brothers now, just like, oh, they're chasing each other with sticks, and he's chasing everyone else with sticks, but he doesn't understand his own strength yet.
And what do you do in that role? Did you I'm just trying to think about what I used to do, because my 4 boys were just crazy, but like, they always seem to be getting hurt. I mean, there's always an injury. Someone's always falling down the stairs, or one boy turned the heater and burned all his hair off his head one time. But what do you do? Like, are you sort of present, like in terms of being there and the discipline sort of stuff, or are you leaving that to the mum?
It's hard, and I'm sure you understand that there's like a dichotomy in the family life. There's like a system in place, and one's the disciplinary person and one's like the fun one, but it is a hard balance, and I understand that every family is different. I'm like the fun one that rolls them up just before bed, right?
Yeah, just so they won't go to sleep.
Yeah, getting told off with the kids along with them, right? But
Rob, you go to bed.
Yeah, like, I'm just making everything harder. But when they step out of line or they do something they shouldn't be doing, it's me that gets the call, or it's like, I'm going to tell daddy, and then they switch on, sort of thing. It's I'm kind of, I am the enforcement when it needs to be, but I'm also a little bit more relaxed, because my wife grew up with a sister, and I grew up with my brother and with my dad, single household. So it was a house of boys. So my mentality with the kids is a little different than hers. So when the boys are chasing each other with sticks, that to me doesn't seem out of this world, because they're just being boys. Or if they're throwing things around or kicking stuff for no reason, absolutely no reason. It's boy stuff. Obviously, I'm not letting him go around kicking the house down. And I go, John, stop kicking things. But my wife's like, why does he kick things all the time? And I try to explain it to her the other day. I go, babe, I think about kicking things all the time as well.
Yeah,
still, to this day, I think I could probably kick that door shut, but I'm old enough to hold it back. Whereas the kids, the boys, they think about it like, yeah, I'll do that. Like, it doesn't even cross their mind to not do it.
It's just a natural instinct.
Yeah, can I do it?
Yeah, and I can, and I will.
Yeah.
It's funny, I tell you, when my boys were a little bit older, one time I had to go to a fancy dress thing, which I hate. But anyway, it was a party thing. And I said to my wife, I was married at the time, and I said to her, look, we'll both go, we'll hire a nanny. Like, you can ring up at some place to hire a nanny or something like that. And she'll come in and mind the kids. And we were just not very far away. We were just a few streets away. And at 11 o'clock. So the boys all slept in the same room together. There was 4 beds for all boys, and but only 3 of them were there, the 3 younger ones. And at midnight, we got a phone call, and the nanny said, "You got to come home." She said, "I'm leaving. I can't stay any longer." I said, "Oh, what's going on?" And I said, "Well, if you stay here at a party, I'll go back." What had happened is that she was a bit timid. And the boys had got one of the single mattresses off the bed, and they were up on the top level, like it was a 2-story house, and they opened the balcony doors, and she was sitting down in the lounge room watching TV, which is where she was sitting is right below the balcony, and watching television quietly, and she thought everyone was in bed asleep. And then they got the mattress and they pushed it over the balcony, and it fell straight down right where she was, right next to her, and frightened the absolute shit out of her.
It would have.
And it would have frightened me too. And and I actually thought, stupidly, I thought, oh, that's pretty funny, pretty funny. Like I thought it was pretty funny. Like it was a good thing young kids, one was, the youngest would have been 4, would have been 5, and the next one would have been 7. So they were doing something they thought was a bit adventurous.
For 4 and 7, you gotta commend the ingenuity, right?
It's an adventure.
But where's that even come from?
Yeah,
Lift
totally.
a mattress up and throw it off the banister.
Yeah, totally. Like this, I don't know if they were trying to be mean to frighten her or not. I don't know, but maybe it was something. But I got in trouble for it because I sort of thought it was a funny thing. Like, and instead of disciplining them, I had to discipline them the next day. But I mean, I didn't get much sleep that night, to be honest with you. Like, I ended up having to go down. I had to go and pick it up, bring it up, and I was made to sleep down in the lounge where the nanny had been.
Doghouse.
Yeah, well, it wasn't good. It wasn't a good outcome for me. But I really love that. But I must say, I never had the opportunity to have a little girl in my family, and I kept having kids, boys, to try and see if I could get over to it, but it never happened. But, mate, not about me, about you. Let's go back. You were born in New Zealand. Mm-hmm. Whereabouts in New Zealand?
Otahuhu, Minimal.
Minimal. Now, where's that? Just put me in perspective.
Auckland. I'm pretty sure.
Auckland.
I want to say pretty sure.
Right. And mum is Samoan background?
Yeah, Māori Samoan.
Maori Samoan.
Her father was, I think, Samoan background, and her mother was Māori.
Māori, right. And Dad was just a New Zealander?
Yeah, no. My father is actually a Queenslander.
Queenslander?
Yeah.
My God, what are we doing here? Do we have to put up? He's not going to tell me he goes for Queensland in the state of origin or something like that.
No, he doesn't. Because he was actually born in New South Wales, and then I'm pretty sure he was.
So he's an original New South Wales.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. He's a blues man.
So great. So you were born over there. Your parents, did they both move to Australia, or what happened?
No, so it was a bit of a funny thing. My mother wanted to go home to have her firstborn in New Zealand. And that's what she did. She went there, had me, and then more or less, same month almost, came back. That's right. Just because when I was born, there was a whole ritual with like the umbilical cord getting planted underneath a great tree and yada yada yada.
That's like a Maori ritual.
Oh yeah, I want to say yes, but it was my grandmother was the one that was kind of leading all that.
Yeah, well, I've known plenty of guys who've done that with their kids.
That makes perfect sense.
Makes mine. You plan to
ties you to the land a bit.
Totally, and the nutrition of the umbilical cord obviously is pretty nutritious. It's been feeding the kid for forever, so there is a lot of good stuff in there, and you can grow things out of it. So they came back. They came straight back to Australia. So you were pretty much schooled in Australia. Whereabouts in Australia did you grow up in?
So I'm sure when I was younger, I moved around a little bit, but from my earliest memories, I did probably my first 10 years in Riverwood.
Yep. Riverwood.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember Bennett Park in Riverwood.
Bennett Park.
It was near Roselands, on the way to Roselands.
Oh, yeah. I did
rugby league fields there.
I did my swimming lessons at Roseland Swimming Pool.
Yeah, okay, so did I. So I grew up on that park. So I was on the border of Riverwood and Punchbowl.
Okay, great area.
Yeah, it wasn't so great in those days. I'm on about now.
I was joking. It's terrible. Well, no, it was terrible back then. It was
it's probably good now. It's probably expensive now. But
I would hope so.
Yeah. So you grew up in Riverwood. Yeah, okay, cool. And for the first 10 years?
Yeah, we grew up in a unit. I'm not going to say the whole 10 years because, like I said, we were moving around a little bit when I was younger, but I don't really remember too much.
Did you go to Narwee School? Which school?
No, I went to Riverwood Public.
Riverwood Public, okay.
So I grew up, from my earliest memories are like growing up there. We grew up in a unit on Minnesota Avenue.
Yeah.
And then my parents split up, and eventually I went and lived with my father. And through housing, my father ended up getting a place in Menai. in the townhouses there. And
That was a pretty good area, Menai, though.
it was. It really was. I want to say really middle class because there was only like a strip of housing commission
because it was sort of new. It was
yeah,
like a new area.
And there's no train station, so that instantly puts speed bumps in kind of the social structure.
Yeah, well, it's a good speed bump.
Yeah, to a degree, because I was the one getting put there, and it's funny because when I lived in Riverwood, obviously I lived in the units, and there are a lot of units around me, and going to school, and everyone was the same.
Yeah.
But when I moved to Menai, and I went to school, I was labelled a houser, which I didn't even know existed until then, which was funny. It's a funny little thing. Kids can be mean, but it's a great area.
Well, that's funny you should say though, Rob, because like where I was, we used to call kids houses. There was a street around the corner called Chick Street, just behind Roselands there, and it was a houso street. And I remember I used to have my younger brother, and we didn't know it didn't matter to me, and that's because everyone else called it that. But I remember I used to walk my brother home, and we'd get off at the shopping centre and have to walk home, and my little brother, and there's always bloody dogs in the street. Like everyone had a dog. And there was about 3 cars out the front, and no one had a fence. So they're all cattle dogs. And I used to say to my brother, mate, whatever happens, don't look over there at the dogs. And whatever happens, if they start coming and barking, don't run, because they'll bloody chase us. And if they start chasing, you might have to start running, and they're going to chase, they're going to bite us,
The downhill fight from there.
Every time we were walking, and we think, I've got past, they haven't seen us, they're not barking at us. And one dog would bark, and my brother would take off, and the dogs would be chasing him. We used to go through the street all the time, but all of my mates lived in that street anyway. But it was, I reckon they're good areas to grow up.
But you
wouldn't want to be labelled the houser.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say, and I'm sure there are other people that have spoken on it, and there's a whole system and science behind it. But Menai and the Southern Shire as a whole was a great place to grow up.
Totally,
like great place to grow up. Granted, it did have some, things with social separation and things like that. Like I didn't know what a houser was or what a wog was.
Yeah.
Until I had moved to Menai, which was saying a lot. But still, I think it was a great place.
So Menai's in the Southern Shire.
It is.
It's otherwise known as the Shire.
Although people in the Shire would argue that it's barely in the Shire.
It's sort of on the edge.
And
what's it like living? What would it be like growing up so that's from the age of 10 sort of thing?
Yeah.
Like, did you go there right till you were a teenager?
Yeah. I got my first unit there with my now wife. At the time, I grew up there, spent my teens, early adulthood there. I didn't move out of the Shire till I was about, I want to say 24-ish. Yeah.
So it's a pretty unusual place because you get an introduction to life pretty quick. It's a pretty parochial place, like the Shire. I mean, we've seen lots of things. And by the way, my brother grew up in the Shire. My brother, he's much younger than me. My family moved out to Cronulla way.
Yep.
And he grew up in the Shire. And his mates are different to all my mates.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Yeah, they are different. And they probably still live in the Shire.
They do. They do live in the Shire. And they're all still hanging out with each other. They're still close.
Still hitting Northies up on a Sunday.
I worked in Northies for a while. And and it's a culture. There's a culture there.
It is. It's almost like a village. Like Menai, for instance, and Illawong and all those other suburbs around there. I call it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people call it, the island, because no one leaves. No one leaves.
Yeah. That's interesting. But where do you live now?
Me, I live out past Camden.
So you're close to where you train.
Close. So I own a gym at Smeaton Grange.
Yep.
That's where I do my camps, and all my training partners, other UFC fighters are. And I live probably about 20 minutes out of that on acreage just past Camden.
Right. So take me back to why did you start to learn how to either box or do wrestling or what? Tell me, how did that all start?
It was my parents' influence. They wanted me to learn some self-defense. Obviously, there's as a boy, grew up watching a lot of cartoons, a lot of fighting games and stuff like that. I had an interest in combat, just naturally. And then they put me in self-defense, which was karate. Me and my brother at the time. Me and my brother.
Was at the time.
Yeah. And as well as football. So I played football as well.
As in rugby league?
As in rugby league.
Yeah. For like, you play for the school or?
I played for Riverwood public for a while.
Yeah,
And then went over to Kingsgrove Colts.
Oh, Kingsgrove Colts.
And then then moved again to Menai Roosters.
Okay, the Menai Roosters, because the Kingsgrove Colts are in the Canterbury. I think they were in the St George comp.
Yeah.
In the Dragons comp.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you played footy. You did some form of karate. Yeah. And did you get graded and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I ended up getting my black belt over the course of the years. I eventually, when we moved to Menai, the trip to karate was getting tricky. Plus, once I had reached black belt, I was kind of getting, I wouldn't say bored, but I had lost a little bit of interest, and I wanted to try something different. There was a Hapkido and Jiu-Jitsu school nearby. I jumped into that. The Hapkido school eventually transitioned into an MMA school because MMA was rising at the time, and that's it. Haven't looked back.
It's funny, I remember watching a movie maybe 40 years ago, maybe more. It was a movie called Billy Jack, and it was about an American veteran who had been to the Korean War and had learnt Hapkido over there. And when he was a half Indian guy, like an American Indian, and like a half Indian, half non-Indian. And he learned Hapkido, and Hapkido became really popular all of a sudden. This is in the 70s. So, but you never hear much about Hapkido.
Well, I think a big influence was Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
He was a big influence.
He was a Hapkido guy too. Yeah. And what is Hapkido? Like, just take me through it. Like, is it more wrestling?
If I had to give you like a layman's breakdown of Hapkido, it's kind of like traditional MMA.
Right.
It's got a bit of everything.
Bit of striking,
got
bit of wrestling.
Got a lot of wrist holds, got a lot of those wrist hold type things, some throws, some ground stuff. It's also got some like debilitating sort of kicks and punches and strikes and whatnot. So
much
it's kind
groundwork? Much groundwork?
There was a little bit of groundwork like involved with it as well. The school that I was doing Hapkido at though also did jiu-jitsu, so it was kind of a crossover there.
So I mean, I was talking to a guy the other day who's a coach, an MMA coach, and he was telling me that he thinks the two best fighting methods, and I'd be interested to hear from someone who is a fighter. He was a fighter too, but like just someone like, especially someone with you. He said, if you want to learn the two best combinations, he said boxing and wrestling. Mm-hmm. What would you say about that? Like if you were trying to bring the two together.
Yeah, but to do what though?
MMA.
You want to compete in MMA and you could only pick two?
Yeah.
Because I think you have to do it all, right?
So what would all include then? What?
You'd need to do your boxing, your kickboxing, your grappling, your wrestling, your jiu-jitsu, and your fitness work.
Can you explain the difference between then wrestling and grappling?
Grappling is kind of like all of it. It's kind of wrestling and jiu-jitsu together.
Can you explain the difference between jiu-jitsu and wrestling? Because they're different.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu is primarily ground-based combat. Obviously, in tournaments and stuff, they start standing, but then eventually go to the ground, and that's where a lot of the competitiveness takes place. Whereas wrestling, it starts standing, and the idea is to stay standing, and you take the opponent down. The scoring's different. If I had to, it's very hard to pick one or the other in a mixed martial arts context, because as soon as you are lacking in somewhere, you will be exposed there. And they both have their different strengths and their different weaknesses. I would like to say wrestling, just because of the physicality that wrestling brings into it. So if you're wrestling a lot, generally you're strong, you're fit, and you're you have that aggression to be on top. Because I think in MMA context, probably wrestling is more important. No, I wouldn't say more important if I had to pick one or the other, just because if you're on the bottom in wrestling, you're losing, which is kind of similar in MMA. If you're on the bottom in MMA, you're losing.
Yeah.
Whereas in jiu-jitsu, if you're on the bottom, you're not necessarily losing. So I think people accept the bottom a lot more so in jiu-jitsu. Obviously, people are going to argue when they're rich is, oh, no, but what if you're on top on the ground? I'm a top player. So I get the different layers of jiu-jitsu, but I'm saying generally.
Because like you see guys like as Gordon Ryan, Craig Jones and these guys, they just jump to the floor, and then often they get sort of criticised about it. I mean, by the way, you wouldn't want to be on the floor with them, no matter what happens.
Can I just ask, who criticises them? No.
Yeah, but you hear people say 100% because they're the two greatest in the world. But at their craft.
Yeah.
And people sort of say, oh, well, they go, try and put you in a guard straight away. Yeah. Is because you start standing up. Mm. And if someone knows how to stay away from you, You're not going to, even if they fall on the ground, you're just going to stand there and look at them
Yeah.
and jump on them. So how important is it to you in terms of how you built yourself into MMA? How important was it, all the various things that you did in your life? Karate, for example, how important was that?
Well, karate was almost fundamental for me because it's kind of molded and sculpted my style of fighting throughout my career. You know, everything I do is kind of karate based, the speed, the movement, it all kind of stems from karate. Yes, I've moved it and I've changed it with my body, with my age, with the boxing and the kickboxing and the wrestling, and I've kind of all molded it together. But my foundation was karate, which is more speed based, right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
I gotta say though, people do like the jiu-jitsu comps where the guys just sit down and they butt scoot towards you and stuff.
Yep.
Like the people that are complaining, it's like it's a jiu-jitsu match.
Yeah, totally. They're not meant to be
It's
there.
like, if you want to see somebody stand up, watch boxing.
Yeah,
watch kickboxing. It's like don't complain about a sport that's not doing something. You can't complain about the sport when they're doing sport things.
But,
and I think like Gordon Ryan and Craig Jones, those guys that just sit down or just give their back, that would have to be the biggest power play I see in that sport because they're so good. They can just do whatever they want.
yeah.
And that is crazy to have that level of confidence, but also have that level of skill to be able to back that up. And the people complaining obviously don't get that. You know, it is crazy to see people complaining about people sitting down in a jiu-jitsu comp. Watch a different sport.
Yeah, totally. Well, and it's sort of interesting because that's what it takes us to MMA or the UFC competition in terms of MMA. But MMA always was about that whole situation. Who's best? Which discipline is best?
Yeah.
Which form of fighting is best? And the smart thing was someone said, well, let's mix it all up. And were you around in the early days of MMA where you could do everything?
No. But obviously I've seen the videos. And
They're full on.
I remember seeing this one fight where the guy's kind of he's on top of the guy in side control, and he's just punching the dude's balls like over and over and over, and the dude ends up just giving up.
It was brutal.
Yeah, for good reason too.
Yeah, totally. It was brutal. And what do you think about? I mean, I've been trying to ask someone like you this question. What do you think about the bare knuckle guys?
Oh, mate, it's hard to say. Like, it's a bit. I think it's real fighting.
Yeah.
Like, and it takes a certain level of crazy to get in there and do that. A certain level of cojones, if you will.
Yeah, totally.
You know? but mate, I feel like once you step into the realm of bare knuckle boxing, you're kind of not doing anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you've kind of made your bed per se. I don't see someone after 10 bare knuckle fights going to open a law firm type thing.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Opening up a cafe
Yeah.
in the local area.
It's funny, many years ago, I don't know if you remember Garth Wood, the Australian boxer, Garth Wood, and his brother Nat Wood, who played for the Roosters, but Nat was a wild fella. And I remember, this is only a few years ago, Garth said to me, he said, mate, me and Natty are going to Ireland. And we're going to go with he's got another couple of guys. We're going to film ourselves going around Ireland, fighting a bear, fighting a knuckle. Yeah, fighting the gypsies.
Oh man!
I said, "What's up with you? You off your head?" He said, "No, we're going to film. We're going to do like a little, like a little documentary thing." And he said, "We're just going to go fight anyone who wants to fight us."
You see, that doesn't sound as bad as the competition of bare knuckle boxing because, like, you're going up against dudes that just slug on the weekend, you know, and usually they're drunk, right? Like, you're going to hit the pub, going to go throw some hands and then call it a night. That's all right. I can see that because generally it's over very quickly. The guys that are training for bare knuckle boxing and they're skilled fighters. They know how to fight.
Yeah.
So the fights are always just about the distance. And you guys are landing shots on each other. You look at anybody that comes out of a bare knuckle fight. They look like their face was just put through a blender. It's it's a bit much.
So, where's Rob Whittaker now in terms of, let's call it UFC, MMA, but within the UFC, where you're up to now?
Okay, so I recently lost to Dricus Duplessis, and that was a bit of a setback. Honestly, I just didn't turn up that night. There was a whole string of things. I didn't turn up. He did. Congrats to
Mentally.
him. Yeah, congrats to him. It's a tough industry to have a day off.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, not be ready for the day.
Yeah, yeah. Like everyone has bad days.
Yeah.
But my bad days look a little worse.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't. Yeah, you didn't look right.
Yeah.
When I watched
it was it was off, and I could point a lot of different things, but at the end of the day, I didn't turn up and he did, and congrats to him. But honestly, I'm using it as like a bit of a catalyst. It was a kick up the ass, if I'm going to be honest. That I'm happy happened now and not in 2 years, because you see the way I've given myself a bit of a hard deadline of 36.
Right.
I think 36 is a good age where I've kind of hit my prime, hit my peak, and I'm leaving at it. I don't necessarily want to be fighting too much when I'm going when my prime is on its decline.
Yeah.
So I think 36 is a good age for me to make my legacy, make some money, and really, give everything I have for it. So that's the approach that I'm taking after this loss. It's like a kick up the ass. All right, time to tick all the boxes, time to take all the 1%, time to have 2 feet in and really try to cement my legacy and take back that title, have that last run at the title shot. And yeah, that it kind of got the gears in motion, committed me to the cause.
And when you saw the last middleweight fight, which when Israel lost, does that sort of, and I don't mean it because he lost, but does that inspire you to think, hang on, everybody loses at some stage, and it's okay?
Certainly. It two parts to that. So yes, people have off days, and like even if you don't, sometimes you lose anyway.
Yeah.
And to see a guy that I have lost to twice,
yep.
though the second time, we can argue,
yep.
but to see him lose, I don't know, a bit of a pep, a bit of a motivating moment. But yeah, it's just things are in movement. Things are moving. There are people win, people lose. He's not an indomitable figure. He can lose like anybody else.
But they pitched him as one. I mean, to be honest, I thought, well, that guy was the odds are against him.
Yeah, you and everybody else. Right?
Yeah, but did you? The silly thing to say, but did you pick something up from that? Did you?
Well, the thing is, like when I look at a fight and I break down a fight, I can make an educated guess of what will happen, but I can also go down the hypothetical train of what could happen. And I saw the path to victory that Sean had. And
what you mean? You saw it during the fight or at the beginning, or you
before
saw
the fight happened?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because the bloke Sean fought prior to Adesanya, that game plan, that style of fighting is perfect at fighting Adesanya. Now, those two guys aren't the same. Adesanya and the guy he fought and beat aren't the same person. So, and they fight very differently. Adesanya's much better. So it's very hard to get a gauge on how well that will work against Adesanya, let alone whether Sean will do and implement the same game plan without getting, overzealous or overreacting or getting too caught up in the moment. But to everyone's surprise, and I can see this a lot when I break down big fights. I can always see an educated guess of what will happen and an hypothetical what could happen, and I can see it every which way, just about.
So you weren't surprised,
unless the scale was huge. Well, I was still surprised because I saw the path of victory, but a lot of the times it doesn't happen because it's not the educated guess. It's not the safe bet. It's not the odds. The odds are against him. But, mate, he turned up and he did exactly what he needed to do to win.
It was very purposeful. I mean, would you be able to break down for me, for example, as a observer, like how did you see Sean's approach? Like, what was he doing? Like, he looked like a Mayweather style. He had, he was sort of standing up. I can't remember if he's left or right, if he's a southpaw or not otherwise. But he was just pouring out, and he was always covering up so that Adesanya couldn't counter him. Well, would you break it down for me? Like, what do you think it was that was so effective?
I think
he walked him down a lot too.
Yeah, to break it down, like some of the key features of that fight, would be that Sean's defense was on point.
Yep.
So he obviously he stands very tall when he boxes, which gives him a lot of range when he leans back. He also shoulder rolls quite well, and he keeps his other hand up well.
Floyd Mayweather style, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
So he does that well, but it also leads into his way of fighting, which is walking you down. He stayed in that threatening distance of Adesanya the entire fight. And that's where they're both in punching range. He can hit Adesanya and Adesanya could hit him. And he just utilized his defense and his lean back and that constant pressure to wear away at Adesanya, to get Adesanya's back on the fence. And when you walk someone down like Adesanya, someone who likes to be evasive, whose main defensive maneuvers is the lean back and away. So leaning back, sliding back, being on your bike, circling out. When you take that away from someone, when you have someone like that with their back to the fence,
so they can't lean back. They lose all their range. That's how Sean landed that super effective shot, which changed the entire pacing of the fight from that point on. But that's how he landed that shot, because Adesanya had nowhere to go, and Sean was just in that range the entire time. It's he just chipped away. He just chipped away at Adesanya, didn't give Adesanya any space, any room, and he kept his defense on point. So then, they often say, like styles win fights. It looked like his style won that fight to me. So does someone like you, I don't know how all the UFC rankings work and how the matches are made, who's the matchmaker and how it all happens. But let's say they said you had to fight Israel next.
Yep.
Would you adopt something like that? I mean, I'm not asking you to give away your strategy, but is there something you would learn from that? Because you when I've watched you fight Adesanya in the past, you've been engaging with him nearly in his style sort of thing, in the middle of the ring, giving plenty of room and trying to outspeed, outpace, outbox, everything else. And it hasn't worked for you in the last two, so maybe the last one, well, whatever, we can argue. But or you can argue, but it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you want to win. You don't give a shit. In terms of strategy, do you watch these people, study them, and say, now, what can I learn from that?
Well, that was my my next time I fought Adesanya. That was going to be my approach. I'm more pressure, closing that space up, keeping him under the pump the entire time, keeping high output, and just making him work and move until I got his back up against the fence and capitalized on the openings that I would have created. But yeah, I've always thought that is the way to beat Adesanya. I think if you invest too much into really trying to grind him down onto the mat, you take a little bit out of yourself, and it doesn't take enough out of him.
He's pretty good at getting up too.
Yeah, he is. I
don't know what that is, but
tall guys.
Yeah, is that what it is?
Tall guys are harder to take down. They are. Just got longer levers. But I'm sure he's working it. Let's give him credit.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's doing a hell of a lot of wrestling.
Yeah, I'm sure Eugene's doing plenty with him over there. And can you just tell me why the hell we have, pound for pound, between Australia and New Zealand, we have so many high-class fighters? I mean, it's not just you, Volk, Adesanya, there's a lot of other guys too. There's Malaki. There's a heap of them, right? Why is Australia so, and New Zealand as well, so well positioned? What is the deal there?
Oh, we just like our sports, don't we?
Do you think that's what it is? It's just that?
I think we've always been a sporting nation,
particularly contact sports.
Yeah, particularly. I think we've always been a sporting nation, and we've always liked combat sports. We've always been a part of the kickboxing, the K1, the boxing, and I think with MMA being introduced, it was only a matter of time. Really,
I mean, I do you think? I mean, obviously Volkan loves his footy and contact him, and every time they used to talk about Volkan, obviously that when they used to talk about his rugby career, not his rugby league career, but his rugby career. I'm talking about the US commentators, and there might be something in that. I mean, I think that bodies being physically hit all the time, like you play footy too. Do you think that sort of, which a lot of other countries don't do that sort of stuff. I mean, do you think that prepares you in some way, physically?
It's got to some degree. If we just look at it from an intellectual point, it's got to. If you play rugby league, you're used to getting hit. Yeah. You're just used to that contact, that rattling of the brain.
Yeah, totally. And, hopefully you don't rattle your brain too much, but yes.
Yeah.
But it does.
It just gets you used to it. It's like... And your body gets conditioned for it. Yeah. It's just used to contact. It's it's got to. It has to.
Can I ask you a question? Do you enjoy getting hit? Is there a little bit of, you don't enjoy getting buzzed? I mean, but enjoy the combat.
Definitely. It's the only reason why I do it, really.
Yeah, you cop it. You like copping it.
Nah, not necessarily copying it. I like the threat of the fight. Like I like it when they're trying to hurt me because I'm trying to hurt them. You know, that's the combat. That's the threat that this guy's trying to hit me, and that high of adrenaline, of like not letting him do that is what I really thrive on in the moment.
But is it for you though? Is the thrill making sure that individual doesn't connect with me, or is the thrill more I want to connect with him?
Yeah, I want to connect with him definitely.
Yeah,
well, it's like eliminating the threat.
Yeah,
right.
And by you connecting with him though.
Yeah, by beating him.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's trying to beat me and take me away and hurt me, and I get a high out of trying to get rid of this threat.
Yeah,
and the way you do that is by beating him.
Because it's funny, I watch blokes like Mayweather, and it looks to me like Mayweather is nearly trying to show off how good it is that no one can ever hit him because his defence. I mean, I actually, to be honest, find him. People don't think I'm a heretic, but I find him a boring boxer to watch. But he always wins. But he's so good at defence, and whereas he doesn't look like he's trying to rip someone. He doesn't look like he's trying to connect with someone so much. His game is. He gets more thrill out of making you look like an idiot. I
feel like he changed though, because I feel like he was much more aggressive in his earlier days, don't you?
Yeah, when he's younger, yeah. As he got older.
Yeah, as he got older and he really started cementing his
ring craft.
Yeah, what he does.
Yeah.
He realised he doesn't need to do that anymore.
So have you evolved in that regard? I mean, if I go back and you look at you 10 years ago and look at you today.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So where are you evolving to? Like more ring craft as opposed to being tough and aggressive?
I think I started off aggressive and tough and aggressive. That crafted itself into ring craft.
Yeah.
But now I'm at another point where I'm kind of molding the ring craft back into aggression, because that's how I
blend the two.
Yeah, that's kind of where I want my end goal of like the holistically of how I want to fight and of my legacy to be molded as a mixture of ring craft and like fight IQ, but with aggression and grunt. Yeah,
so you fight at middleweight. You look like you're pretty big at the moment. So,
what do you mean, mate?
Yeah, I don't know. I reckon you're about 10 over. Like, no. I mean, how do you go with weight? So,
I've never missed a weight cut.
No.
So
you fought a few catch weights with others when they miss weight cuts.
When they've missed weight, yeah, definitely. And that's a funny dichotomy that is, but. I've never missed weight. The weight cuts have always been pretty easy.
So can you take me through that then? So just paint a picture for us. So what you might be walking around at? Right
now, about 100 kilos.
Okay, so and you got to fight at what?
84.
Yeah, okay. So we're talking about between 10 and 15 kilos. You got to drop?
Yeah.
Just take me through the process. So where do you kick off? Let's say you got to fight, 3 months out. Do you start your train for the fight 3 months out?
So I'm actually closer to about 97 kilos, 97 and a half.
Yep.
And this is my 10-week mark. This is where I want to be 10 weeks out.
Right.
Because I'm getting the right amount of food to be able to hit a lot of sessions, to be able to get strength gains, to be able to feel good in my sessions. But then as soon as we get the notice 10 weeks out, we can start trimming it back to start seeing the weight going down at the same output.
Do you do it scientifically though? Like when I say scientific, you start off with a DEXA, like a DEXA scan, to sort of see where it all sits? Well,
I've done them, but we don't need to. I do them outside of camps, kind of get a gauge on things, but don't really need them going into camps. More or less, I've been doing this for so long. I know how to do it at the top of my head, but I feel like I want to get more out of the weight cuts, so I'm kind of evolving in that sense that I want to get more.
You want to feel different, you mean?
Yeah, well, the min-maxing the weight cut. I want to be as strong and as big as I possibly can, whilst healthily able to still do what I need to do in there.
So maybe you could explain though, Rob, like that 10-week period, which that's an intense period, and maybe you could just take me through for the first 5 weeks of that 10-week period, what it looks like the second 5 weeks, not on weight, but just on training regime. So what are we training 3 times a day? We're doing a weight session once. What are we doing?
Yeah, there's day to day, my training's changed, but it's usually 3 to 2 times a day. And the first 5 weeks is usually, it's more of like a load building. So like foundation building sort of period. So it's like a lot of live wrestling, a lot of hard sparring, a lot of hard sessions, so like physically hard sessions. But because the weight's at 97, we're dropping the calories a little bit so that we're at a deficit, so that the weight's slowly coming off. And then we move into the second 5-week mark where the calories have to drop off more to keep losing
At a
the
fast
weight.
rate, yep.
And it's more about quality after that. So we still have high level competition matches and competition sessions, but they're not as building per se. So it's not like a lot of heavy weights, not a lot of foundation building because the foundation's already been built. And then as we get closer to the time we leave for overseas or fight week itself, it's usually about bringing the weight closer and closer to the target market, bringing the sessions in so it's all quality, and then kind of offloading the last.
And when you say quality, what do you mean by quality? We're talking about like technique and short bursts, like as an actual 5-minute.
Yeah,
round.
so like instead of doing say 6-8 minute jiu-jitsu matches, we'll do 3 5-minute.
Yep.
So you need to win those 3 5s.
Yep.
It's not about getting through the 8.
With 3 different people usually.
Potentially.
Yeah, potentially.
It depends what we're doing.
So like a lot of guys go over to Auckland. You know, a lot of Aussie guys. I mean, Alex does. I mean, what do you do? What's your plan? I mean, sometimes you go. There's camps in Thailand. There's all sorts of places. What's your go-to?
I'm fortunate enough though that so at my gym at Smeaton Grange, I have other UFC fighter Jacob Malkoon, and I have one FC fighter Izzy Dox there, and they're both middleweights. And we've also got a whole host of other guys, but they're like quite high caliber, high level middleweights. So they're good bodies I get to work with day in, day out. And then we bring in a lot of other guys to come in and do some boxing sparring or grappling or MMA sparring if we can find the work. And I'm fortunate that I can do all my work from Smeaton Grange because, like I said, it's 20 minutes from my home.
That's perfect. You don't have to travel. I mean,
well, I don't think I could justify traveling when I can do all the work here. I can do all the work and I've had great results and success from home. But also, the other half of the coin is my family. If you take me away from my family and like I've lost half the edge.
Yeah, can you sort of take me through? Like, are they sort of like the basis of everything you do?
Oh, definitely. They're the reason kind of why I do everything. It's and the easiest way to say it is they're why I fight. So if I'm not close to them, I'm not spending time with them. If I'm not a part of their lives, why am I fighting?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I get that 100%.
Yeah, and I also do understand how people are like, you got to sacrifice now for later. But I don't want to sacrifice the first 8 years of my kids' lives.
Yeah.
You know,
totally.
to enjoy them from 12 when I don't even know who they are. You know, I want to be a part of it the whole way, the whole journey. Give and take. There's moments I can't do things and I have to go away or stuff like that, but I try to minimize it because there has to be a balance with those two, for me anyway, because they're my driving force.
Because I mean, the obvious question is, for people in your game, is why, and you just answered it, but why do you do it? I mean, what's Rob Whittaker's end game? What's your strategy? Obviously, you can't fight to your 75. You can't fight to your 65. Maybe you can, but like unlikely. You definitely won't be doing it at UFC. That's one. Two, you know, it's pretty brutal. Like, it's very brutal. You know, you can get injured badly, but brutal in every way. You can lose, you know, blah, 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 the whole thing. What's your goal? Where do you want to land? I mean, you obviously get paid and, you know, you get, the UFC looks after you, you get paid, and then if you win, you get, you know, share of pay for you and all that sort of stuff. You make a bit of money, a fair bit of money, but not like, you know, it's not like if you're, you know, a famous boxer, because they get paid a lot. I mean, they make a lot more money than UFC guys. Maybe McGregor did better, but, you know, they're pretty unusual.
Yeah, few and far between.
Few and far between. So you're using the fight game and your skills and your courage to get to a certain point. I know it's to look after your family. I get that bit, but what point do you want to get to? You want to own your own home and have a few property investments and a business. Where are you getting to? What are you trying to do here? I
think so. It's a loaded question. There's a lot of different avenues and a lot of different points that I guess I'm focusing on. Okay, so for me, when I started fighting, it was about identity, being a fighter.
Yep.
I wanted to be a fighter. Didn't want to be a houser.
Yep, I get it.
Like, then it became, oh, I can make a living doing this.
Yep.
Okay. And
That's
then,
stage 2.
yeah, stage 2 was like, oh, no, wait, I can do this full time. I can make a living out of this.
It's a job.
Money. Yep. Then I reached another point where not only can I make a living of this, but I can create a platform for myself.
Right.
So like I can be someone. I can be
A
bigger.
brand.
Yeah,
A brand.
I can be a brand. I can be an ambassador. I can be more. And then I guess you sail out that, and then we get to where I am now, whereas I am a platform, I am a brand, and I'm also trying to live up to the responsibilities that the spotlight and the camera and the attention that is given to me deserves, which is being a good role model for my kids, for other kids, for other men. It's about being more, leading by example. So there's that avenue. Obviously, through that, I'm trying to create a legacy with my craft and my skills, which will, transcend myself and my life.
Grow above you.
Yeah, exactly.
So there you got your gym. So a good example.
Got the gym.
Yep.
Got the gym.
But I can see your T-shirt.
Yeah, I'm also trying to move into other markets, not only to help myself, but to, again, transcend, to be bigger. So recently, in the last 2 years, and we've recently launched in the last month, I have opened a company called Alchemist Extracts, which deals in CBD as well as wild mushroom extracts. And someone like me, so I first heard about CBD oils a few years ago, and as someone who's like trained my entire life, and as someone who's fighting at the pinnacle of the game, you're always looking for edges.
Yeah.
Always looking for advantages. And
something that might let you train a bit harder tomorrow because you might get injured today and you think,
yeah,
I'm going to miss out training.
Inflammation is the enemy of humans, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I got into CBD oil, and CBD made a difference. It made a difference. Of all the things, like instead of having to pop multiple Voltarens.
Yeah, which are the worst thing in the world for you.
Which are the worst things in the world for you to get through a wrestling session.
Yeah.
I just had some CBD oil in it, and it helped. It
You
made
mean
a difference.
you ingested it or you rubbed it on? Like
I ingested it and I tried rubbing it on.
Right. Maybe you could just explain, like the CBD, how it works for in your case for your arthritis. And it's not just talking about fighters. This is arthritis generally, like or inflammation.
Yeah.
Better way of putting it. How does it work?
Well, like I said, like inflammation is the enemy of mankind, because there's a lot of pains and aches and things that stop you from doing stuff just because of inflammation. Inflammation is the root cause to a lot of different things. And for me, like for instance, if I'm wrestling and my back's a little sore, I can get through the session, but when I shoot a double leg or shoot a fast single leg, there's a point where it hurts and it pauses.
You got to think for a second.
And then it pauses me for half a millisecond, and then I've lost it. I've lost the shot.
Yeah.
And like I said, in a game of inches and a game of centimeters, that I don't want that. I want more out of it. And I find that CBD oil it was something I could take regularly, which you can't do with a lot of those prescribed medications, but also it was something that just took the edge off it just enough. And, for how accessible it is now, I delved into it and I researched it. And I was like, I can do it better. I got into the science of it, of the CBD and the extraction process. And I was like, I can do it better. I don't need these companies. I can do it better. So I opened my own. And I don't know if you're aware of it as well, but there's a lot of research that has opened up, like how CBD was several years back with wild mushroom extracts as well.
I'm totally into it, yeah.
Yeah. And the benefits of those. And it's another thing that hits well with me because it's all natural.
Yeah.
It's natural things. It's things that the earth has given us that we can use.
So are you very attracted to nature and the natural things and things that, as opposed to the chemistry that we get thrown at us if we just go to the doctor?
Yeah, well, to a degree, right? To a degree, I'm not about to go out there and hug a tree, but I do think that if we try to keep things to an as natural degree as you can, I think it's better. Just because the human body can handle natural things a little bit easier than processed. but there's give and take. It's a balance.
So your Alchemist brand, it's called Alchemist Extract.
Alchemist Extracts.
As opposed to EX, it's just extracts.
Yep.
So that's your
AX.
business. That's your business.
Yeah, this is my company.
And that's your logo, the infinity logo.
It is.
Yep.
The symbology of the infinity sign.
Yep. And do you? It's the stuff's where's the manufacturer? Is it local stuff? Because I see you got a box here.
It is.
Hopefully
It is.
that
I
box
do.
is for me.
I have a gift for you, my friend.
Thank you. Let's have a look at this. So what do we got? We've got a t-shirt.
You got a t-shirt,
mate.
and you got some extracts and balm in there.
So a balm being something you rub on.
It's something you rub on,
Right.
and it's like, if you've ever had like an achy elbow,
Yeah. I get achy knuckles, like thumb knuckles. So
hands and stuff. Yeah, like it just helps. It just takes the edge off
this
things.
is the balm here, right?
This is the balm. Yeah.
So you just rub it on.
You just
nice
rub it on. Rub it on.
And then this is the CBD. So I have tried it in the past, but I have to be honest with you, like, hopefully I don't get arrested or something, but some dude in Byron Bay gave it to me that he fucking imported it from somewhere. I don't know where and I tried it and
Might not even be CBD,
and I don't even
mate.
know if I took the right amount or whatever. I don't know what I was doing. So, but I got nervous. So I threw it out. So because I thought I might get into trouble or something. But tell me about this is a CBD oil. So how do you take this?
Well, and you just you take 1 mil if you have a mil dropper in there.
Is that the thing there?
Yeah, or the squirter.
Yep.
So that's the squirter. So 3 squirts is 1 mil.
And you squirt
Keeps
it where?
real simple, just in your mouth.
In your
3
mouth,
squirts, or you
yeah.
can mix it with water.
Yeah.
I usually just do it in the mouth and then have a drink of water afterwards.
Yeah.
And
You do it at night or when you do?
Well, it depends. You see, you've got multiple types there in the box.
Oh, they're different ones.
Yeah. So there's Focus and Energize, which I take in the mornings.
Yep.
It just, how do I explain? Obviously, it has like the anti-inflammatory effect.
So this is lion's mane extract.
Yep.
The Focus. Yeah.
Yep, that's the type of mushroom. So obviously, it makes things a little clearer, like focus, like sharpens things up for me. There's the anti-inflammatory portion of it as well. And it has a whole list of other benefits and health benefits.
So I know this
well.
cordyceps one. So sometimes I have the cordyceps powder in my coffee in the morning, but this is like drinking coffee. I mean, it's better than a coffee though.
Yeah, it's
better
so
for you.
good. And then I have coffee on top of that.
Yeah, because
I'm
so
flying.
do I. And then the calm is something I can take at night.
Yeah, that's what I take
That's
at night time.
reishi mushroom
Reishi, that's
extract.
Yeah, that's what I take just before bed because I don't know if you're anything like me, but when everything quiets down around me, my mind starts to switch on, and I'm like, oh, here we go, thinking about tomorrow when I shouldn't be. So
Yeah, I'm the worst.
it just helps. And another thing that drove me to create my own company was just the USADA and USADA testing. Like there's nothing in there from any sort of banned substances.
So these are clean.
They're absolutely
So to
clean,
speak.
and
Yeah.
I live off them religiously.
So you
1%.
use this in your training regime? So
every
like-
single day.
Yep.
And not only me, my kids also take it because just like the recent science and research with like ADHD and stuff. So two of my sons have autism.
Yep.
And one's got ADHD as well. And just the science, the recent studies with the wild extracts and ADHD, you know, there's some correlations with things like calming effects and keeping cool. Because I don't really like the idea of medicating my sons.
Yeah.
So I just
Not with the traditional medications that you get
Yeah,
from the chemist,
just,
because that's a bit weird.
yeah, I don't really like that. But with the mushroom extracts and the CBD oil and the MCT oil, it's just all the little 1%.
So you're using the MCTs as well. Do you have that as part of the Alchemist extracts?
We do. We have a long range. You can
The MCT oils. So you got a whole list of SKUs.
Yeah. We have and that's kind of another reason why I branched out into the company was because, you know, trying the products, the CBD oil, and understanding, like feeling its benefits, it got me like thinking and going down that rabbit hole of what could I be doing to make me better.
Yeah, give you the 1%ers.
Exactly. And that's kind of led me down to like ice baths and saunas and mushroom extracts and CBD oil and MCT oil and just all these little things that aren't, like they don't make huge differences by themselves, but together they're, you know, I'm practically a temple at this point.
Man, boy, you look pretty happy though. You look like you're pretty together. So, and if like, do you have a website with everything listed?
Yes, alchemistextracts.com.
Alchemist
Or
Extracts.
.co, I think.
.co, is it? Alchemistextracts.co? It's
Yeah,
not on there, but yeah.
probably so.
So, and then everything's listed on there. So obviously your business is selling online. So
Yep,
you're not selling
yep.
through a supermarket or anything like that.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
The idea is to be, but couple hurdles to jump first.
Because I have seen you. You've worked out well, someone's worked out pretty quickly that you're a brand and you're marketable. And I have seen you do a lot of stuff for Musashi over the years.
Yep.
But
long time sponsor of myself.
Yeah.
Just the relationship we formed over the years has just been invaluable.
Yeah. So are you still with Musashi now?
Very much so.
So you probably, I mean, because the big questions all the time, and I never really know the answer to this one, but like everyone says, like if you're training at a certain level and you're a certain weight, this is the amount of protein you should be having. And there's no way in the world, well, mostly, especially when you get to my age, there's no way in the world you can eat the amount of meat, let alone go and prepare it and buy it. Like, I'm 85 kilos. I got to allegedly eat 170 grams of meat, 170 grams of protein a day, which is about 300, 400 grams of meat. That's a lot of fucking meat to eat. And, then I say, okay, I'll take a protein drink. And I never know where to go. And one of the things that's stuck in my mind, I think I've seen you on the back of the bus or something like that, along with, I think it's Trebojevic. I think you're on with, what are the Trebojevic brothers? There's you.
Generally, people send me text messages going, hey, look at this. It's just like my mug.
But they don't have UFC under it. They have MMA under it.
Yeah.
And I often wondered why they put that, they didn't have UFC. And in fact, I rang Musashi up because I got a bit upset about it. I didn't get upset. I thought, you've got rugby there. He's rugby league. He's not rugby. And he was MMA. That's MMA, yes, but like we know him as a UFC fighter. You're contracted to UFC. And I rang the dude up because I found out who he was, and I said, mate, you made a mistake. Because you got you two and I think it's two others. I can't remember.
I know the answer to this, but continue.
And they never changed it. He said, oh no, we didn't realise. And but maybe they reason put Trebojevic in there as rugby because they wanted to cover both off. I'm not sure. I mean, why they had you as MMA, not UFC, I don't know the answer to that.
It's because of the licensing.
Oh, right, they couldn't get it.
UFC don't let anybody use their UFC logo.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's just like, they've just been hard knock on that since day dot.
Yeah, because
you'll see any sort of ad that isn't UFC funded or promoted, they're blurring out UFC logos, putting tape over them. Like you just can't.
Yeah, they're pretty tough.
Yeah, they are.
I know. I've had Mark Hunt sit there tell me his stories. Yeah, it's pretty full on and
a lot of stories.
Yeah. And we've had quite a few over the years. Quite a few fighters come on Straight Talk, and it's that they run a business.
Oh yeah.
And whether you like it or don't like it, it doesn't matter. They run a business and they protect it. And you're running a business and you have to protect what you're producing. What are the things that Rob Whittaker's got to do to make sure that, because you've got a pretty clean image. You're a family man. You don't arc up. You're not carrying on like a goose. You're not sort of strutting around the joint. You don't do the McGregor. What have you got to do to protect your image? I mean, is that something you're really conscious of all the time?
You see, no, it's not, and I think that's just because of the way I've conducted myself since day dot. It's not something I have to try to be. It's just
be yourself.
Yeah, it's just be myself. It's just who I am. It's I don't know. Just don't be a tosser.
Yeah.
As easy as it is to say, it's like just don't. Don't annoy people. Don't get in people's faces. Just you do you. Try not to be annoying. I don't know how to explain it. I'm sure everyone knows how not to be an idiot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To a degree. And it's just, I guess understanding that once the spotlight was put on me and I am a brand and I am an ambassador and I am a platform and these different things, and people look up to me, like when I walk the streets and they want a photo, or these young kids look up to me and they say, hey Rob, how are you? I understand that there's a responsibility on my shoulders. I think it didn't make me change how I acted, more so just I felt the responsibility a little bit more. It gave me not clarification, it justified to a degrray how I am, like almost like someone going, you're doing good, Rob, sort of thing.
Do you think that's somewhat influenced from your parents?
Definitely. My father was always big on when I played football, it was always like, what happens on the field stays on the field. And that mentality kind of got, put across my entire life. It's just about you can have disagreements, you can have scraps, but leave it there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no need to make a big deal out of it. And then obviously through self-searching and soul-seeking throughout my life, because everyone
You got to grow up.
Yeah, you grow up, you have kids, you see things in a different light. You see life itself differently once you have kids, and once you win the title, and then once you lose the title, and once you have wins and you have losses, there's the roller coaster that is life.
What's the biggest learning curve? Is it winning or losing?
Oh, losing for sure, definitely.
Tell me.
Well, anyone can win. Anyone can win. Winning's easy. It's good feelings, good vibes. You get given good things, more money, more people, more friends, more fame, more spotlight. Winning is easy. Losing is hard. Losing is hard because, especially if you don't have a good grasp on who you are before you lose, I should say. Because, so I won the title, I was the world champion. And then I lost the world title in front of my family, my friends, 60,000 people in Melbourne. And if I didn't have a good grip on who I was and didn't understand the people that I had around me, didn't understand what it was that I was fighting for, I would have fallen. Like that's a bit of a hole to fall into. You know what I mean? And you can see it across the timeline of UFC champions, how many of them stay in that top 5 after they lose the belt. Like especially in the middleweights, you look at Weidman and Rockhold, and there's Anderson Silva after he finally lost. Like there's so many, and I'm going to say it's just life. But this is one thing that I think the fans don't see of the fighters. It's just like the fighters, they have good wins and they have bad losses, but they're just people. They have to deal with that like anybody else. It's like if a dude cuts you off and then puts a finger up at you in traffic, it ruins your day.
Yeah, it does. You think about it all day.
It ruins your day.
Because you can't do anything.
Yeah.
But does that mean then, Rob, what's important from your point of view, at least I'd like to know how you learnt this, but is not to identify yourself as a winner. Definitely don't have to identify yourself as a loser, but you identify yourself as Rob Whittaker, the family man, Rob Whittaker, a whole lot of other things. That's who I am.
Yeah.
If I win or lose, it doesn't change who I am.
Yeah, definitely. And
who taught you that? Where'd you learn that stuff?
Oh, mate, I'm fortunate enough that I've always kind of been like very self-aware and.
What, as a kid as well?
Nah, not quite. There was a moment when I was going through my career that I left the box, if you would, and I started looking at things from the outside in and just really trying to get a grasp on my own mentality, because not having that solid whilst the fluxes of life and having kids and losing fights and winning fights and getting titles and yada, yada, yada would keep me a bit rocky. But I understand probably more than anybody else that I'm not a championship fighter. I'm a warrior. And this is what I do to provide for my family. And that's the identity that I have. And when my family doesn't need providing for anymore, when I've set up those companies like AX, when I've set up Alchemist Extracts, when I've set up my gym, when I've set my family up, then I can rest my tools, right?
Yeah, that's not a fighter skill. I don't know what skill that is. That's a family and businessman skill. That says to me that you're not only a fighter, but you're in the business of fighting and using that business to set you up for something better, for a better life. Yeah, you have to be.
Because we're just people as well,
You recognise where you are. And that's pretty incredible, though, because most people don't look at fighters like that. I mean, especially when you buy pay-per-view, you're watching on Fox, or watching on where you're watching. You're just looking for the transaction. It's like, Sunday, Whittaker's fighting so-and-so. I'm going to watch here's the card. I'm going to watch it. And then it's over. We walk away, you win or lose, whatever the case may be, and we get on with our lives.
Yeah.
And we never think much about that.
Yeah.
But you're not just a transaction. You might be my transaction from a point of view. I would pay $59 to watch you, but you're got a life.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm going through the same things you are.
Yeah, totally.
I don't want to work tomorrow either.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but you're prepared to work for it and prepared to take risks in order to get to that position.
You have to be.
It's funny, I think, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's just something that struck me is a lot of the MMA, UFC fighters, I should say, who are at the top all seem to be pretty steady It's pretty steady individuals.
Yeah.
All got a goal, got an objective. I mean, and I love him. Like Ty to us, like, you know, like he's a bit crazy, but like at the same time, he's got the same deal.
Yeah.
Exactly the same deal. Family, build a brand, build a platform, you know, and in his case, got to be a business, but blah, blah, blah. Very different to the way boxers are. Boxers tend to be fighters as opposed to being in the business of fighting a lot of times. There are a few who survive it, but what is it about, do you think it is about MMA fighters that's different? I mean, I don't understand.
I think the brutality of the sport and the business is what kind of makes you aware of certain things and makes you harden yourself up and protect yourself a little bit more than the other sports do. It's about
because it's not going to get stopped. You don't get standing eights and stuff like that.
It's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
You know, it's the fight could be over in seconds.
Yeah.
And you won't even know it over until you wake up.
Yeah.
You know, and just that dynamic of getting your head around that, I think, changes the way you approach it and the way you, or hopefully changes the way you approach it and the way you approach all of it as one. Because you can do absolutely, especially in MMA, you can do everything right and still lose.
Yeah,
and it's, I think just that nature of the beast kind of, you know, weathers you a bit. And you either, like, unfortunately, you either harden yourself and you get through it and you come out on top, steady, or you don't.
So, and in your...
And you see a lot of the guys that don't.
But the guys at the top, you guys seem to have, pardon the phrase, but got your shit together. Like, it looks like you're all pretty steady. You know, there's no crazy stuff going on. You know what you're doing. I mean, even though McGregor, like, even though a lot of people talk about, like, the guy did build a whiskey business, which he had partners and all sorts of stuff, but they did sell it for hundreds of millions of pounds.
Yeah.
It's like, he was smart.
Yeah.
I mean, people might not like the way his antics are now and the way he carries on, etc. But at the end of the day, the guy's a big investor. He's got his act together and his family and all that other stuff. I mean, he does some weird stuff. I get it. But still, again, done it pretty smart. He's worked his way through a process. He might have good advisors, I don't know, but he's gone through a pretty good process.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had John Kavanagh come in and actually sit in at that chair, and John, as you know, he's the coach, but John goes through the process of telling me how smart actually McGregor is.
No, I'm sure it is.
Irrespective of the antics.
And you can see it, but the antics itself take a certain level of smarts.
Yeah.
And then you need the talent and the wit behind it to back it up.
Yeah.
And I think no one can argue with the success McGregor has had and just the balls to be able to do it.
Yeah, totally balls.
You know,
and timing was good too because it was in the early stages.
Exactly.
I mean, but what it tells me from talking to you though, Rob, is that each one of the people who get to the top of your game where you can earn a good quid and you can establish a good platform, each one of you has sort of branded yourselves differently, no worse or less, just differently, based on who you are as an individual. You've chosen your path. You haven't thought I've got to become him or I've got to become Adesanya or I've got to become whoever. I'm going to be Rob Whittaker and this is me. And each one of you have sort of done the same sort of thing to me and are comfortable with it and are doing a great job of it.
Yeah.
Like, but comfortable.
Yeah. And I think that's the ticket though. That's the secret. It's like, be you.
Yeah.
Be you. And if you change along the way, that's natural. Everybody changes. But don't try to be someone else. And you can see it when people are trying to be someone else. It just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. The fans don't reciprocate it because they can see through the mask.
Yeah.
And I think it confuses you up here, if I'm going to be honest. I think the fighters that try to be someone else, it confuses them. And it's just not natural.
And do your boys do jits or something? What are they doing? Something?
They train at the gym as well.
Do they?
Yeah.
What are they doing? What are you going to do?
They do jiu-jitsu, wrestling and MMA. But primarily they do jiu-jitsu.
And do they want to be dad?
Oh, dude, I don't think they care. I don't think they like. I honestly don't think the kids have any idea what it is I do for work.
Really? But they watch it on.
Oh, they've seen me compete, but like, I just don't think they get it yet.
Yeah.
Like,
how old are your oldest again?
My eldest is 8.
He doesn't sort of quite.
Not quite.
Jerry, Dad's fighting for money.
For the first time ever, the other day he had some friends over and he was speaking to his friend. He goes, "Hey, look, my daddy's famous. Like the first time ever I ever heard that, it made me chuckle a little bit.
And do you have trophies and belts and all that sort of stuff in the joint?
Not really. Like I don't not around my house because I don't really need to see that sort of stuff. But at the gym, there's a big picture of me holding the UFC title belt, a massive picture, and still, again, I don't think they.
When he walks in, they don't get, that's Dad. Who cares?
Yeah, it's just a picture of Dad. It's like.
And would you? I mean, as a parent, I mean, all parents like this. Do you wish for your kids to have a different life to you? I don't mean as kids growing up, but if one of your boys said, or your daughters, one of your daughter to come as well, said, "Dad, I want to be a UFC fighter." What would you say to them? I'm always curious about that.
No, 100%. Like
you back them.
Yeah, it's my kids can do anything they want as long as they're good people. Like,
as long as their mum agrees.
Yeah. To a degree.
To a degree. Mate, so can I, final question, when do we expect to see you again?
In the octagon, it's hard to say. The middleweight division right now is tied up. It's tricky at the moment.
It's complex.
There's a lot of moving parts. Perfect world, Strickland lost that fight, and I got to fight Strickland next. Yeah, but he won, and now I don't know what's going on.
So who makes the matches? Is it an automatic sort of ranking system?
No, so there's a matchmaker for like I think middleweights and up, and a matchmaker for like welterweights and down. Yep, and he's having trouble as well trying to work out where the pieces fall because. What is it? Costa and Chimaev are supposed to fight in a week or so, and then Costa's saying his elbow's sore, so who knows if that's even going to happen. Then there was a Delidze and Cannonier, but then we don't know what's happening with Strickland or thing. And then there's me and Dricus. I just lost to Dricus, so I need to beat someone to get back into the top.
So that's how it works. You need to beat someone to get back up.
I believe so.
So
you would think so.
Do they don't write rematches into these things? Do they?
No, not really.
No, that's not like really. Boxing. So you want to beat someone to get back to probably fight Dricus again, a rematch, or Israel. Yeah,
or Israel, or just getting up there. Like I'm sure beating like the top contenders gets me in that title talk again. Because I'd love to fight Dricus again, but I'm not.
I reckon you and Arizona would sell big time because you lost the fight. So I reckon that's what I hear talk. And I'm not saying that I'm hearing that that's what they want to do, but I hear fans say it. And they want to see this. Well, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
What about if Whittaker's changed his style a little bit and sort of walks him down because it's been done, and as you said earlier, puts him up against the fence.
It's a tricky position, the middleweight. All I know is that I'm training my butt off. I'm training my butt off. I'm going to be 8 weeks ready whenever
get the call.
Yeah, whenever I get that call. Baby's due in January.
Yep.
So, yeah, hoping it's either. It's most likely going to be in like the February, March timing, just because of the baby and.
Yeah, do they put much on during December, January? Generally,
I think. There's a few in October. I think November, December, there are cards. There's the John Jones card, that massive one.
Yeah.
Sometimes they put on like a Christmas or like a New Year's Eve card, if I'm not.
Right. I can't remember.
But I do know there's like a 2-week gap and then they come back usually in Jan or something like that. Well, but then there might even be an Australian card March.
That'd be cool.
I wouldn't.
I meant to Perth and went to Sydney. So, I
missed out on the last one. So.
Yeah, and we just want to make sure it's after the baby's born, mate, because we don't want the New Year's Eve card or the Christmas Eve card or anything like that. And we don't want to be forward just because we want your mind to be clear. And Rob, I really appreciate you coming in. I wish you the best of luck with Alchemist Extracts. Did you call it AX?
Yeah, it's AX.
Yeah, AX. But alchemistextracts.com. You actually are like an Australian legend from a fight fan's point of view. And you're one of the first to really kick it off, and in terms of Australians doing great things, and you're still there. You're sustained. Like you've had a long life in this game.
I have.
A long life, and that in itself is quite admirable. So I really appreciate you coming in, mate.
No, thank you so much for having me. It was a great chat.